To moderate the next session, I would like to invite Mr. Money Man, Raju from Bangalore chapter. So please step on to the dais. He is the managing director of Kalari Capital, and I had an opportunity to chat with him last evening, and he has been, the force behind multiple unicorns. He's from Bangalore, and thank you very much for
today's session is about entrepreneurs. Right, and we have two phenomenal entrepreneurs here, and I make a living servicing entrepreneurs. That's what I call my business to be. And most of the venture capitalists forget that our customers are entrepreneurs, and we have to take care of our entrepreneurs to do well in our business. And we have two great entrepreneurs here, and hopefully we'll get a lot of insights on what they've done in the past and what they're doing now. But an interesting connection I have to these two gentlemen sitting here. One, Jayant, who's a co-founder of Darwin Box, came to us. I'm sure he has knocked on many doors. As an entrepreneur, it's always tough to raise the first couple of rounds of funding. And of course, we didn't fund it. And the rest is history, right? And I have to add it to the list of unicorns that I have missed in my life, and it's a long list. In our business, you miss more unicorns than you create, and that's the connection I have with Jayant. He's built a phenomenal business. The other gentleman sitting here, Sreeram, also worked with me. It's a reverse situation where I was trying to save one of my companies. So he and a couple of his partners looked at that company to fund it, and you don't realize that we as investors also beg for money, by the way, to save our companies. And this company is a gaming company, and he's a gaming expert. He looked at it generously. Unfortunately, he was going through an inflection point, and that deal didn't go through. And unfortunately for him, we were able to raise money for the company somehow. And within a year and a half, the company went from a $30 million valuation to a unicorn. Right? So we have two unicorn connections, reverse stories here. And this world that I'm talking about has fascinating stories like this. In a couple of years, Jayant becomes a unicorn. The company that I was trying to save in a couple of years becomes a unicorn from going bankrupt. So the volatility that we see in our industry is amazing. And to take on the volatility, you have to be what's Steve Jobs' quote. I love that. You have to stay hungry and stay foolish. You have to be foolish to put up with the kind of craziness our industry goes through. So, and these two gentlemen embody that. Terrific, volatility in their own careers, and they have done very stupid things, but they've always stayed hungry. So,
good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So, we're the last session, so we'll try to keep it as interesting as possible. Thanks for having us here. It's really a privilege to be amongst members here are very accomplished. So I'm part of the CEO Club as well for a couple of years right now, and have the privilege of spending time with each one of you guys, and the wealth of knowledge is just absolutely phenomenal. So for some of the newer clubs which are being formed with your members, I urge you to spend as much time as possible, because the experience is absolutely phenomenal. So let me start by maybe giving a little bit of introduction about myself, and then talk about my journey so far. And then we'll take questions during the panel sessions. So I was born and raised here in Hyderabad, and did my early education here. And post that, I went to the US for my undergrad to a university called Purdue, specialized in ECE, and also worked in AI. So that was a 4-year journey there. And so I was at a little bit of a crossroads there to kind of figure out what next. This was 2002. Just recovery after the .com, whatever happened, and then there were some interesting options in front of me. And in one such meetings, gatherings like this, I was introduced to a gentleman by the name of Anurag Dikshe, who at that time was starting a gaming company. And we started with probably an office the size of this stage, literally. There were about 20 of us sitting right next to each other, not knowing what to do or how to do, but we were determined that we will crack the space, and with very little capital and a lot of passion, we actually grew that company from a size of 20 to 2,000 globally in 2 years, clocking $1 million a day in terms of revenue. And then in 2006, we went on to list on the London Stock Exchange for about 3 billion. So we were bigger than Yahoo and British Airways put together at that point in time in that listing. So post that, I came out of party gaming, bootstrapped another gaming company in UK, and 2017 I sold that to another listed company in UK. So it's part of another large company in UK called N10 PLC. And along the journey, we also thought, look, let's do something in homeland. Gaming was just about taking off here. And early 2002, we also started a gaming company in India, but I didn't focus much on it because the UK company took quite a lot of my time, spending my time traveling between India and UK. And UK, as you know, is very, very highly regulated, right? You just have the UK regulation, and then you have the entire EU regulation around AML, GDPR, responsible gaming and pricing standards, quite a lot of stuff actually. So post my exit in 2017, 18 I finished my management handover and started focusing on the Indian company. And we grew about 150% year on year since then, till about last year. And that's when certain regulatory headwinds from state legislation started hitting us. And so we moved literally 4x ahead and then came back 2x behind. And that's when I decided, look, this is not an industry that I want to be in. So I sold that company to another listed gaming company in India called Nazara, which is India's only listed gaming company and a unicorn as well. So I decided to exit to them and start another company in the marketing technology space, in the space of influencer marketing. So what we're attempting to do is pretty much like how Uber revolutionized the radio taxi business, by making it a complete platform approach to it on demand. So we are doing that to influencer marketing. So that's been the journey so far.
Great, that's great hearing both of you talk about your journey so far, and I totally, for most entrepreneurs, that either naivety or foolishness that makes you who you are. Right, that adventurous streak that you have, and so you ended with the foolishness thing, and I'll stick with the foolishness theme. So I'll start with Sreeram. So gaming industry in India has been around for a long time, and you've been part of that journey, not just in India but globally. And I remember looking at gaming companies for 15 years in this country, and it was a tough industry, right? And you make some bets, but there was no way to monetize. And suddenly what we have seen over the last 2-3 years is phenomenal interest in gaming. And I think most of it, one could say, is COVID-induced, because people were sitting at home and instead of actually working, they're playing games, and of course N10 and Netflix and Amazon Prime, all those companies benefited. And gaming was the biggest beneficiary. And we have two massive gaming platforms in our portfolio, and we've seen the growth of these companies. Last 2 years, especially with the inflection point, and especially now, what's going on with the industry. And you've been in this for nearly 20 years. And one sitting outside would look at you and say, what a foolish thing to do. This is the time to be a gaming entrepreneur. And I heard you say regulatory issues, etc. What you didn't share, what you shared with me, I want you to shed some light on why switch away from gaming to something very, very different. What I heard from you in the past is the moral ethical dilemma one goes through when you're running so-called scene industry. Talk a little bit about your thought process in giving up an expertise that most entrepreneurs don't have, right? And you had that expertise, very successful, not just expertise but success with multiple gaming companies. Why would you leave that industry and go explore something absolutely new, brand new, and cutting edge? And nothing you can predict what's going to happen with the new gig you're doing. I want us to walk us through the thought process of that.
I think you asked me a very question which was very difficult for me to take a choice on. Let me break that into a few different different aspects of, what was going on in my mind when I decided to sell the Indian gaming company, right? When other companies which are half my size were raising money at $400-500 million. It was a very, very difficult choice. So, I had to look beyond the numbers and then do quite a lot of soul searching. And so what I concluded was this. Right? Point number one, the most valuable asset in your life is time. Right? More than money. Money you can make, money you can lose, but your time is something which is something cornerstone, right? And the second aspect of it was that, look, there are various aspects of success in life. Right? And a lot of people look at just wealth and say that, look, wealth is the only measure of success, right? But then there's a lot of stuff around. Ultimately it's the experiences in life, right? That you go through which really make it, to a certain extent money is fine. But once you have $100 million, your life is, or even a $50 million, your life is not going to change significantly after that if you have $1 billion or $2 billion. So perception is a very important thing. What people think about you is a very important thing. And that is also what gives you access to some of the most privileged clubs and networks, which are really important for you 5-10 years down the line. So these were the two aspects that I had to first internalize myself. And then take this difficult decision that, look, if you are smart, you're hardworking, you have certain experiences that you've picked up in life, there's a certain amount of success that you've already achieved in life, you can make money in quite a lot of spaces, right? Quite a lot of industries you can, especially in technology, you can be quite dexterous in terms of moving from one industry to another industry to another industry. And 10 years back, when you look back, right, I think it's not how much money you have, but also the color of the money that you have is also very, very important. And I've always kept things very simple, very clean, very transparent in all aspects of my life. And that's one of the reasons why I believe that the first two companies were successful, because people saw that ethic in us. So we were a company, and even till today, we are the only Indian origin gaming company to be licensed by the government of UK. No other company which is outside of UK not having BritGuys has had a license till date. But the way we carried ourselves is what basically gave the confidence not only to the regulator to give us a license, but also for the various partners who work with us, who are again based in different parts of Europe and UK, who probably met us once every quarter, but still were very comfortable doing business with us. So when I came back to, once we exited both the overseas companies, and we came back to India, we encountered a situation where gaming is a phenomenal opportunity, but it's also the wild, wild west, right? There is no regulator here. There is no regulation. Like, for example, when you run a gaming company or any financial services company as well, you have to be very responsible. You have to do an affordability check. Today in India, we don't have proper systems to do affordability check before I decide saying that, look, customer A can spend $100, customer B can spend $100,000. I don't have the way to make that differentiation. So hence, the money that the customers are spending with me, and this is a problem that even the stock exchange is going with. We have so many people who are losing their livelihoods on derivatives. And I think even now SEBI is struggling, and the stock exchange is struggling to come up with affordability checks to enforce these limits. And you have the other aspect of it where the perception about gaming in India, especially real money gaming in India, started to become a very political aspect, with every state not differentiating between a game of skill versus a game of chance, and then having their own moral high grounds, right? And so I didn't want to find my reputation getting caught up in this crosswinds. And I said that, look, it may not be a great exit, but it still was close to a $25 million exit. I said, I'll take it. There weren't any shareholders. It was only, again, the tax department. So I said, let me just pay the tax, let me take it. Hold these cards and start in an industry which is, again, a sunshine industry, no regulatory headwinds, absolutely big target audience, and the opportunity to go global. So that was what's going on in my mind.
It's never easy to walk away from money, and very rarely do entrepreneurs walk away because of moral or ethical dilemmas, and always need to applaud entrepreneurs who do. So I'm sure you do well in whichever industry you take on. So I have plenty of questions to ask. we're also a little short on time. So I'm sure the most of you in the audience here can't exactly relate to this set of people here. Most of you I know run traditional industries, not accustomed to tech, gaming, unicorns. Companies go from zero to unicorn in like a couple of years. It's a crazy world we live in. But there's also something new when it comes to technology. I'm sure most of you who are trying to, who maybe run in traditional industries, but tech-enabling all your industries is extremely important. And you go to left behind in this tech-driven world if you don't keep up with technology, right? So anything related to, I guess, entrepreneurship, technology, and SaaS, which is a booming industry in India, and gaming, and now influencer marketing, what Sreeram does, they're all great areas for you to be curious about at least. So,
an eye-opener. Let me give you a little background. I'm an architect, urban designer, conservation architect. I'm an academician too, and this is largely related to the academic side, and this is for Sreeram. A little anecdote for you. I teach the final year students who do their graduate out doing their thesis. So we finished this whole batch and they come back for their graduation, and suddenly most of them, at least say 60% of the class, turns back and says, now we've all joined gaming companies. So my question to you is, as architects, are we making a mistake, or are we teaching them to be good gamers?
No, I think, see, this is definitely the era of gaming, right? And what COVID did was just absolutely accelerate this industry. And esports, I think, in India is going to be absolutely big. It's going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry. So, if you find your kid playing a game online, don't rap him on the head and say, go back to your studies. He could be the biggest, phenomenon in esports, and he could probably get paid more than one of the cricket, stars that we have. So I think definitely it is the future, and it's good to see that students are getting keenly interested in this. See, one of the reasons why India in gaming did not take off is because the entire gaming ecosystem was missing, right? And this is, of course, something also very cultural, right? A lot of the past two generations, as you can say, gaming was not viewed as something which is entertainment, which is mainstream. Gaming was viewed as something which was big. You didn't want to study or work or doing something else, so you're actually literally wasting your time gaming. But gaming is as much entertainment as your movie industry or pretty much any other sports that you play out there.
I'll repeat the question. If Prime Minister Narendra Modi approached you for the influencer marketing business that you're getting into and says, fine, Sreeram, here I can influence 1.5 billion people of the world, but there's still 6.5 more to go. How will you help them?
Your question is, there's 1.5 billion people, how do you influence 6.5 billion people, right? Well, I think in order to influence that large of people, what you're trying to put out there, that message needs to have that core strength, right? And we've seen more often quite a lot of viral stuff, right? Whether it's initiatives or videos or whatever. They've kind of came out of nowhere, maybe a little kid in Africa doing something, or a little girl somewhere talking about, passionately about, how the world needs to open its eyes to pollution, global warming. We've seen those actually reach the 6.5 billion. So the content needs to have that strength and the power. But that's something that we've seen in a few hours happening, reaching 6.5 people from the time the content was created.